Tonight, a highly experimental episode of Deep Fat Fried where we pit Donald Trump against a mystery president. Who will it be? Well, I mean, there's only 44 choices, and at least 6 that Americans are familiar with. Tonight, Donald Trump versus the mystery president on Deep Fat Fried, motherfucker. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, bitch. What you gonna do now? All right.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Paul discovered just before we came on that he had a lazy eye.
What are you talking about, TJ?
You've been in denial, Paul, or did you know your whole life?
I was looking at, because we've got a monitor across from us where we can see everything that the audience sees. That's what we're looking at. And I'm looking at myself as TJ's like prepping for the show, doing sound check. And I noticed that this eye kind of wanders a little bit too far this way. You know what I mean? Like it's not looking laser straightforward. It's kind of like a little. Have I had a googly eye the whole time you've known me?
I mean, yeah,
that was just well
I had
known.
a googly eye the whole time you guys have known me, and you were like, okay, well, Paul's got kind of a googly eye, and it's whatever.
I thought you knew about it.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I had no fucking clue.
I assumed you knew.
We never brought it up because it wasn't like it's not like it's really bad or anything, but
yeah, I mean, it's just a little.
I assumed you kind of just knew that you had like a little bit of a googly eye.
God damn it.
Sorry.
I had no clue, so I just figured that so this is going to be a great show while I sit here and have an existential crisis about the fact that, like, people my whole life have been seeing me going, oh, over here, buddy.
It's not like that, you know. It's not that bad.
It's really not that bad. I mean, you know, Paul, it's noticeable, but it's not like it looks like you're like looking, like one eyeball's going that direction, you're talking to someone right in front of you.
Yeah, it's just a little askew.
Yeah, just a little bit off.
Yeah, just a smidgen.
View askew, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just going to have to live with it.
That's part of the
I don't know. I have nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. That's part of the uniqueness that is you. Wow. So, I mean, tonight, well, I guess before we even get into the concept, we should shout out our Patreon. For those of you who don't know, we do 2 shows a week, and starting next month, one of the shows per week is going to be for patrons only.
The Friday show, if I'm correct.
Yep.
This might seem like kind of, some people don't like it, like, oh, you're putting half your content behind a paywall, but you got to remember, you know, we don't do the Streamlabs here on this show. We don't do the Super Chats here on this show. We're not even running ads before our videos right now. You know, this is pretty much our very simple, very direct monetization method. I think it's pretty fair. So if you want to join our Patreon for $5 a month, it's exactly one fucking tier level.
That's what I'm saying. That's the great
simple
thing about the Patreon. 1 tier level, reasonable price, $5 a month gets you 4 episodes of Deep Fat Fried. That's like what?
Or 5. There could be sometimes there's 5
that's true.
Fridays in a
That's true.
month, so.
Also, and who knows
It's like
what else
$1.
they're gonna get.
It's like $1.15, $1.20 an episode or some shit.
Yeah, like $1.25, something like that.
On months where you're only getting 4.
Yeah.
On months where you're getting 5, you're getting like 75 cents an episode. That's retarded.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't see anyone could complain, especially when half of the episodes are still absolutely free. And there's none of that annoying, tedious super chat bullshit going on. So, yeah, like I said, we're starting that next month. For the patrons who signed up last month, we're going to give you guys a special show.
Oh, yeah.
At some point during this month.
It's going to be special, too.
It'll be super special.
Special like my googly eye.
So I started getting real high the other night, and I got really lofty, and I was like, man, this show shouldn't be about us. Like, on a pillar, teaching the people. This should be about us learning with them. Together as one.
I was there for this moment because you ran it by me. You were like, I think it's more like the problem with the show, Paul, is that it's too much us telling people what's going on instead of us learning with the people what's going on. I'm like, all right.
You know what? This sounds like a fucking huge load of horse shit. Okay?
Well, you know what?
So
I'm willing to go with it.
Number one,
yes.
TJ does not consider himself someone just another face in the fucking crowd. TJ considers himself like the Plato or the Aristotle, the fucking guy lecturing everyone.
He's the Salvador Dali.
Yeah, the enraptured audience going, "Ah, yes, TJ, impart thy knowledge to us."
No, Scotty. I'm a man.
TJ,
I
the
am
wise
of the
and
peop-
powerful.
I am of the people, and I will learn with the people. Anyway, plus you don't have to do research before the episode that way, you know?
You're
So there's a
fucking,
double-
yeah, so the truth
double-edged
comes
sword.
out. At least the truth comes out
Well, I
in the
mean,
end.
you know, there's always a little bit of stuff.
Plus,
that's
you know,
That's not a double-edged sword. That's like a sword that one side of it is candy that you can eat.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
are you talking about? That's not even...
well, I meant like a double-edged sword that you're wielding.
Oh, okay.
You know, so
Not to mention
yeah,
this
of course.
episode is happening really late because TJ is totally incompetent.
bullshit.
Imagine his time.
Bullshit. You were the one. You
Wrong.
were the motherfucking one who was gone all day.
Fiction.
Gone all day. You said we were
Fiction.
doing this early in the day, and then you didn't show
You,
up till 9 or something.
That's not true, TJ. You
and
again.
I didn't even know if it was happening.
You again,
I
TJ.
didn't even
has
know it
spread.
was happening.
Quiet, TJ. Adults talking. Look, TJ. It's really sad that you try to blame me, the hardest working person in this fucking room right now, TJ. I'm definitely the hardest working person I've ever met in my life.
I can't believe I just learned something. Quiet TJ adults talking works. Did you have like a teacher or something that just like drilled that into you? Because fucking Scotty just didn't even think about it. He was like, quiet TJ adults talking. You were like...
All right.
Anyway, sorry. We're supposed to be learning about presidents.
All right. Well, you know, I mean, I don't know how long this is going to take, so I think a little bit of fluff here at the beginning is kind of okay. I thought we'd start maybe by... Okay, so what we're going to do is I have a random number generator here.
Cool.
That's going to pick a number between 1 and 44. And because there have been 44 presidents before Trump. Well, there have been 43 because Grover Cleveland did non-consecutive terms. But whatever. So there's... I think the first thing we could do is just maybe take a list, a look at the list of his competitors.
Just a broad list.
Yeah, let's just take a look at who he might be facing tonight.
Sure. Because
You know?
we're going to pick names out of a hat, I'm to understand, right?
Yeah. Well, we're not literally picking them
Randomly
out of a hat. I
generated
have
number.
a random number generator.
May as well be.
Yeah, it's the
I like saying picking a name out of a hat.
Yeah,
Let's just say
basically.
we're doing that.
That's what we're doing.
We're picking
For all
names out of a
intents and
hat.
purposes, we're doing that. Yes. All right, so let's take a
Literally.
little look here.
Yeah.
All right, so George Washington.
I mean, how do you stand in those shoes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty
Damn.
imposing figure there.
He's the first, and he was a great man. You know what I mean?
Unaffiliated too, dude.
John Adams. I don't know. I don't really know much about him.
After I don't mean to sound like an expert here, but after watching that Adams documentary kind of series
Yes.
with Paul Giamatti, I feel like he was a kind of an underappreciated president. He kind of didn't want to be president, and it showed.
Thomas Jefferson, obviously. Trump better hope he doesn't get number 3.
Also a very reluctant president as well. By the time he won the presidency, he was very depressed and didn't really want to be involved in politics anymore.
James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams.
Big names.
They
I got to be honest with
Hey,
you. We're
everyone's
reaching
favorite.
the spot where I start to know less and less about presidents.
Everyone's favorite president, Andrew
Sure.
Jackson.
Andrew Jackson. Now, this might be a number that Trump could possibly prevail over.
Yeah.
A lot of scandals in his administration.
Martin Van Buren.
Yeah.
Don't
see,
know shit about
yeah,
Van Buren. I'll be honest with you.
drawing a blank.
I don't know anything about
Wasn't
William
this the
Henry
president
Harrison.
that wasn't the one that died really quick?
I think it was didn't Garfield die real quick? John Tyler.
Or was John Tyler the one that died really quick?
I have no idea.
No, he.
No, it says Whig 1841 to
Yeah.
September. Yeah, I think he did die quick.
Well, maybe Trump could beat him. James K. Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore.
Oh God, look at him.
Whoa.
He looks like fucking Alec Baldwin.
He kind of does.
Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan. That's another really shitty president that Trump might actually be able
Wow.
to beat.
Franklin Pierce had Edward Scissorhands hair.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he looks fucking weird, dude.
Here's the number that Trump definitely doesn't want to see coming up right here.
Oh God. Well, nobody wants that number. Nobody wants to pull 1 or
Num-
16.
number
let's be
17.
honest.
Number 17 might be good for Trump.
Andrew Johnson,
Yeah.
Ulysses S.
Nearly impeached.
Grant,
Grant, man.
Rutherford B. Hayes. I don't know. I mean, I guess I know a little about Rutherford B. James Garfield. I believe he died real quick.
Yeah,
didn't he?
18. Yeah.
He only lived to be 49 years old. Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland, who I guess this guy must have sucked, this Benjamin Harrison, because they elected Grover Cleveland again afterwards.
They were like, oh shit, we fucked up. Let's get Grover back in there.
William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt.
Wait a minute. So Grover Cleveland is the 24th and the 22nd president of the United States?
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So he's got a better shot of winning this than anyone else. William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson. We're getting into the modern era here, so these are a little bit more familiar.
I'm starting to know some stuff about these guys.
Warren G. Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover.
Hoover would be a good one for him to draw.
FDR.
There's FDR. You don't want to pull that number either.
No, you don't.
You really don't.
At least not from the liberal Democratic kind of perspective. You don't. Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy.
Another number you don't want to yank.
Yeah, you don't want to pull 35. Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard Nixon. That might be a promising
That would be
one.
a fun one if we pull it.
Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and from here, if you don't know them, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Go
whatever. Just say them real quick. Bill Clinton, fucking George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald
and
Trump.
Of course, Donald Trump is not in contention against himself.
We should have put him in there.
You want to
compare Donald Trump now to Donald Trump in the 80s.
Well, maybe that could be a different episode.
Yeah.
All right, so those are our contenders. All right. So let's go ahead, if you guys are ready. Maybe I should talk about the, before we do the drawing, maybe we should just talk about the criteria
that
these
do
people
that.
are going to be judged by. All right, so I have here a nice little graphic. It's I got a table here.
Dude, Trump looks so fucking weird. I thought it was a parody of Trump for a second.
No.
He looks like some kind of bird that somebody has plucked the feathers off of.
Yeah, he kind of does. So we got popularity, intelligence, eloquence, diplomacy skills, the campaign. I have accomplishments down here. It's not an official part of the list because, of course, Trump has not served a full term, so he'd probably be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, we got to be fair here.
But basically, because there are 5 categories here, I think that we could score each of them between 1 and 20.
Sure.
So that we could have whatever the score is out of 100 for both of our contenders here.
Makes sense to me.
So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what number we draw. Are you guys hoping it's a popular president, or are you hoping it's going to be a...
Dude, I'm hoping for fucking Nixon now.
I'm kind of hoping for like an obscure one that I don't know much about.
Maybe that too, yeah.
Yeah, well,
like Millard Fillmore. I hope we get to learn about Millard
He's probably
Fillmore.
lame, though, dude. There's probably not much that happened during his administration.
I want to see if he was better than Trump, though.
Yeah, I mean...
he probably was lame, but I want to see if he as lame as Trump.
All right, guys.
We'll see.
You ready?
What shall fate decide?
Are you ready?
And the number is...
ready.
1.
Oh, shit, dude.
George
Washington. Well, fuck, dude.
You gotta be kidding me. He rolled George Washington? Trump is the unluckiest orange on the planet.
Okay, well, God, this is not as...
Wow.
Okay.
All right, so popularity loses that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even have to look it up, right? George Washington was just kind of unanimously, like, anointed president.
I guess
out of sheer reverence for his being alive.
Well, maybe he gets 19 out of 20. I guess we have to. I guess we'll go pull some stuff just to.
All right. So I guess then we're gonna score Trump first, and Trump should be pretty easy to score because now things are pulled to the gnat's ass. Now I do have here.
Well, can we look at like an amalgamation of polls though? Can we actually?
Yes,
look at...
I have here the website 538, the Nate Silver website. It's an amalgamator. It's not. It's an aggregator rather.
Or aggregator. That's what I meant.
It doesn't just go based on one poll or another poll. It has all of the polls that are done, and they all are weighed out against each other. And so here we go. The green line is approval. The orange line is disapproval.
Okay.
So you see here, there was a brief little period when Trump had higher approval than disapproval, but that didn't last long. And it's, let's see, where do we stand today?
I mean, he's starting to gain a little, is what I've heard in the news.
I mean, if you look at it, it looks like he's up a little from his record hideous lows.
Right, but if you look right behind it, it could just be another little hillock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard, because it kind of does fluctuate up and down. It's kind of hard to tell if there's a pattern of like, oh, he's going up or
it looks like it's trending upwards, honestly.
I would say Trump will probably end up higher overall during his administration than what you're saying now, but the best you could probably hope for is maybe 45, 50%.
I think that depends on a lot of factors that we can't even talk about, like the Comey investigation. Like whatever that turns up, like, is going to definitely affect these numbers.
So right now, not looking too good for Trump. 53.6% disapproval, 40% approve. That's not very good.
Is there a way for us to see like historic lows? Is he historically the lowest polled president ever? In the history of polls?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean,
what was Obama? Because I know Obama had some pretty low approval ratings as well.
Never this low.
I can pull Obama's.
Because that'd be a good comparison. Because Trump always compared himself to Obama.
I don't think fucking Obama ever flirted with like 30s.
I don't know if he. I know he had sometimes in the 40s. I know that he had disapproval higher at times than approval ratings.
Yeah, that's true.
I cannot find I can't really find an aggregator for Obama.
Well, anyway, sorry.
But yeah, Obama really was pretty much not as low as Trump for most of his presidency. I mean,
where was he at?
Let me see here. This looks like he was mostly in the low 50s and high 40s, at least if you're going to go by Gallup on his job approval ratings.
Sure.
Was that disapprove or approve?
That's approve.
So 53% approval rating.
I mean, like I'm looking at his whole presidency here.
Overall,
I mean, and it
53.
looks like it's usually in the low 50s and upper 40s.
Sure.
So
and it was in the upper 40s
so
early.
Trump is the reverse of that.
Yeah. He's the devil to Obama's angel.
Okay, so the real question is how, looking at this, do we score Trump? Because, if he's got about a 40% approval rating, we're scoring this out of 20. So what would that be, about an 8?
I would say it'd be fair to probably... I mean, 20 obviously being the most popular, 1 being like if he had no support, like he's basically the last days of Nixon's administration.
Yeah, I'd say an 8 or a 9 would be fair.
I'd say we give Trump an 8.
Maybe 8.5. I mean, we don't probably want to do half, so let's just do 8.
Yeah, I'm thinking if it's 4 here, then that should reduce down. If it's 40 here, it should reduce down to 8. So
okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and score him at about an 8 because that's about where he's at, and that was easy because. The polls are all there to look at. The real question is, because there weren't extensive polls being conducted in the days of George Washington. So, but
there's
the only real question is, like, is he going to get a 20 or a 19? I mean,
yeah.
Well, he was the only president that was ever elected that, one, was just, I think, totally unaffiliated with any political party, and 2, he was elected unanimously.
He was briefly unpopular during his presidency, though, because of some like posturing of war with France and all that shit.
So let's take a little look here. This is I'm going to read some stuff from the presidency, the presidency section of his Wikipedia, which is vast.
Okay,
The Electoral College unanimously elected Washington as the first president in 1789 and again in 1792. He remains the only president to receive the totality of electoral votes.
Okay, well, that right there, he's a 20.
I mean, let's see.
He won every electoral vote.
He got every vote.
I mean, there were less back then, obviously.
Yeah, but to win every single vote is...
I mean, that's a fucking mandate. You know what I mean? This is a dude they believed in. This is a person that was wildly popular both with the people and the fucking...
Oh, well, yeah, you don't get 100% support. Yeah, if you don't, you're not the most popular politician.
He was
I'm going to look up
a brilliant soldier.
How popular was George Washington, and we could see if we could figure this out.
I mean, it's hard to argue
because there was no Rasmussen back then.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but
I do know that he had some controversy during his presidency that would have affected.
How popular
his
is George
rating,
Washington? Well, let's see. What's in my wallet? And what's the number? Number fucking 1, dude.
Yeah.
In our country, it doesn't get any more clear than that. I say he gets a 20.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess if you're not going to give George Washington a 20, who the fuck can you give?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who. I mean, Trump just had no fucking luck drawing that with that category. Because I mean, come on, he's the first fucking.
I couldn't believe that came up. I mean, it just wow.
You're sure? And you're sure that's random.
It
Yes.
is.
What
I mean,
the
I can go show
Yeah,
you.
you can watch. You can go right.
No, it's okay. It's fine. I believe you. I'm just saying, like, how unlucky is
Here,
Trump
look,
to
see?
roll a 1? Snake eyes on his first roll? Oh, my God.
I mean, you see, it's totally random.
Well, we can't see, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'll put it up on the screen here for you.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
like I
he
said,
could have
I
had
believe
any. It's just Trump.
Trunk.
So
Trump had no fucking luck with that one.
on that vast Wikipedia page, TJ, since we don't have Rasmussen and Ipsos and all that bullshit back in the day, is there like a controversial section where we can kind of maybe get a flavor of any times the public may have turned on him?
Okay, let's
on an
see.
issue.
Sure.
Because I think, honestly, there were some controversies. We should
Wa-
take that
wasn't
into
there
account.
wasn't that the whiskey rebellion or something?
I think so.
That happened under Washington because they wanted to tax whiskey or some bullshit like that.
I think so.
I don't see anything like that. I see a section on slavery. That's about as close as I can get. I
What
mean,
about war? Wars are usually unpopular, especially foreign wars.
I mean, he was a war hero, so
Right, but
I don't. Did he? I don't think he oversaw any sort of like military campaign during his presidency. I mean, there was still tensions with Great Britain and shit, obviously,
and France too.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, if there's nothing glaring showing up, then I think we got to give him a 20. I don't think it gets more popular than George Washington. It's the one president that every school kid can name off the top of their head.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows what he looks like. He's on our money. He's on the most easily accessible and widespread of our money. Like, everybody has seen his face. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows a little piece of his story. The people back in the day loved him, unanimously elected him.
I mean,
twice.
He's hugely popular now. He was hugely popular then. He's on the $1 bill. I mean, he's one of the few presidents that even like an illiterate person who knows nothing about American history could possibly name.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, his name is just totally synonymous with this country. I mean,
I don't think- I
that's
mean,
the advantage you have of being the first fucking president, dude. That's the advantage you have going. I mean, no other president we could have said that about. So I mean, you have to give him a fucking 20.
Yeah.
He's still relevant today.
Yeah, he's got to get a 20.
People will pay millions of dollars for his effects. I mean, just come on. This is not a fucking even a question.
All right, the next category is intelligence.
Oh dear. Oh fuck, dude.
How are we going to assess this? In Trump.
All right, so yeah, I guess our first task is in assessing the intelligence of Trump.
I mean, you can't say Trump's a total dolt. I mean, he was elected president. He's made some he's made some predictions that have come true. Like he predicted
It's
he was
very difficult to succeed so much in so many different sorts of endeavors
Right.
without some sort of intelligence.
I'm going to throw out a criteria of intelligence
Okay.
that I think we can talk about. I think, like...
And remember that eloquence is its own section.
Right.
So,
Okay, yeah, I was going to say his speech pattern.
Well, we have to rate that separately. I mean, that can be an indicator, but, I mean, we can't make that the end-all, be-all because that has its own...
Right, I'm just saying it's one of the
dedicated
things
sections.
that we could talk about. Oh, yeah, we're talking about it in another section.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like...
But I mean that is a way to assess intelligence, though. We can't ignore that when we're assessing.
I'm not saying
I mean,
like
look,
if somebody walks in the room and goes, "Duh, I'm a fucking retard." We don't go like, "No, we gotta wait till the
the eloquence.
the eloquence section before we can use that as a point against him." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't use it. I'm just saying, like, let's not hinge our entire case on it.
Sure, but I think it bears mentioning that he talks like a retard, and on that we can leave it at that if you want.
Let's just see what level he talks at. Trump.
Probably about a fourth or
Speaking-
fifth grade
That,
level.
I've heard like third or fourth or fifth grade level.
It says that he speaks at a fourth grade level.
Okay, fourth grade.
So
And that is the lowest of the last 15 U.S. presidents.
that can't
Okay.
that can't have ever been matched in a president. That can't.
Vocabulary level by grade level.
Yeah.
It says Truman spoke at about a 5.9.
Which is what?
Like 5.9 grade level.
Oh, okay. Well, so he's a grade and a half or more
Yeah.
over Trump.
That's the closest one to him on this list. Of the
so a
last
dude that's
15
almost a sixth grade speaker.
Trump's at about a 4.6. So about a 4.5 grade.
So he's
What about-
he's cruising about halfway through his 4th grade
about,
year, and
like,
he's running our
what about
country.
George W. Bush?
George W. Bush spoke at a 7.4%.
See?
7.5 grade.
Oh,
I believe
man.
it. I believe it, dude. Where wings take dream.
Hoover was apparently the most eloquent at an 11th grade level. Then Carter. Obama spoke at a 9.7. Clinton was about a 9.3. Kennedy was 8.8. Reagan was 8.0. FDR was actually kind of on the same level as George W. Bush at a 7.4. That's kind of surprising.
Dude, Reagan was 8, and fucking Trump is like 4.
4.6.
I mean,
Dude, Trump. Oh wow, dude, Trump is fucking stupid.
he's retarded.
Let's see what Trump's. Let's see if we can get a idea of Trump's like grades. It says here. I'm looking at an article here. It says Trump flaunts Wharton degree, but his college years remain a mystery. Whenever his intellectual credibility is questioned or mocked, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump is quick to remind everyone where he attended college. I went to Wharton School of Finance, he said multiple times in a July 11th speech in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm like a really smart person.
I'm like a really.
We should do like a Trump or Valley Girl as like a segment.
That's a
one
really
time.
big clue that Trump is not that intelligent. Is making a statement like that. Everyone knows I'm smart. It's
Yeah,
like
most intelligent people don't have to tell you, hey, I'm smart, look at me,
Hey,
I'm like really smart.
Hey, remember this quote? Hey, I'm like really super smart. Albert Einstein.
All right, so here's reports of Trump's grades at Wharton vary. The New York Times reported in 1973 and 1976 that he graduated first in his class, but in a 1985 biography of Trump, Jerome Tessiel wrote that he was not an honor student and spent a lot of time on outside business activities. Okay.
Can't we? Because it's a private school, we can't see his transcripts, right?
Right. It's shrouded in mystery. We really don't know what his fucking grades were like.
And Wharton ain't telling nobody.
Yeah. So it's kind of we really can't look too much at his academic career.
I think that it is conspicuous that it's not available, because if he had fucking straight A's, he'd just release his report card.
Oh yeah, why wouldn't you?
He'd be like, I'm a fucking G. Look at this. Straight A's, bitch. Here it is. Certified by Wharton right there. But the fact that he just doesn't release them, he probably had fucking D's and C's and maybe a B here and there.
Yeah, he was probably a middling student.
All right, I'm trying to find more on Trump's intelligence here.
I will say this, like, if you listen to Trump when he was a younger man and Trump now, it's like listening to it's still Trump, but the level of eloquence and the seeming ability to like actually recall useful information and regurgitate it seems to be on a whole different level.
Oh, it is.
In old Trump.
Trump just got really dumb in his
not
old
old
age.
Trump, you know what I mean? Like younger Trump over old Trump. It's like, whoa.
Oh
So-
yeah.
All right, so here's this is kind of an interesting thing. Here's Trump trying to tweet something, and it took him 3 tries. First, he said it's the word hereby that he had trouble with. I'm going to show you guys right here. The first time he said here and by as separate words. The second time he realized that's one word, so he made it hereby. By the third time he got it right and spelled it correctly, which is the correct spelling here.
You know what happened, dude?
Now, I don't know that...
Autocorrect, dude.
Yeah, the autocorrect fucked him, dude.
I mean, I'd rather not look at stuff like this. I'd rather have his grades, but since he won't give us those, what else do we have? You know what I mean? Like, if he wrote any of those in an essay that he turned in for homework, clearly that's getting marked as a fucking bad grade, right? If that's his writing level on an essay.
I mean, there's going to be a little red blotch through that, yes.
There's going to be the whole thing will
But
be
you
a
know
red
what?
blotch.
But we have to say this: compared to the average American fucking moron,
Yeah.
where does Trump actually? I mean,
He's probably smarter than the
Yeah.
average
Well,
bear.
that kind of brings up an interesting question. Are we grading Trump's intelligence versus every other president? Or are we grading his intelligence overall from the baseline of, like, the everyday schlub?
Yeah, you know what? I think we have to. Well, how are we gonna? Because what's the baseline of every other president?
yeah, I think we have to go with the average human intelligence.
Okay.
I mean,
All right,
so
so
I would say Trump is maybe slightly above average.
Let's just take a quick look at some of his accomplishments in life. So, he had a real estate venture. Obviously,
Yeah.
it was pretty successful. I mean, he's gotten his name on lots of buildings. a lot of times with fronting very little money for the actual project.
Almost like licensing his name.
Yeah, because he's kind of made a big deal out of the Trump name.
Yeah.
Or at least he did before he decided to ruin it by becoming the most unpopular president of all time. A lot of big developments in Manhattan and stuff. I mean, real estate is a tough industry. But Trump might just be a really, average to stupid guy who just had the brains to surround himself with smart people to do all the heavy lifting and that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. Well, I suspect, but I don't think that a lot of the people he surrounded himself with are all that smart either. I mean, seeing as how many of them went to jail for blatantly lying about shit, and you know what I mean?
But it's tough to. I mean, like someone with a brain was running this fucking real estate empire. I mean, it wasn't all. It's not like it's always been. It's a huge
Ivanka,
success,
dude,
all the time. A lot of fucking golf resorts and estates and golf courses and his stupid Atlantic City casinos. That was a terrible one. Golf courses. He's branded the shit out of his name.
It's hard to say when you kind of stack that up because a lot of things you could even argue like, well, maybe the casinos, the whole market for casinos in Atlantic City went south. So is it really Trump being stupid, or if Trump would have been smart enough, could he have salvaged a situation that pretty much saw most of those casinos decimated?
I wish this is kind of one where I wish I'd read Trump's book, but he did have a ghostwriter, so even that's kind of hard. Like he's kind of, if you really think about it, kind of guarded about what his true intelligence level is.
Which is, I think, a glaring example that it's either mediocre or below mediocre.
And then there's, he has a lot of acolytes too that say, Trump is, playing 4D chess. He's a fucking genius. He has, he has all these, pieces figured out way ahead of time. Like, I would say that Trump has made predictions that it came true that you could argue that, was a sign of that, maybe he had more prescience or more knowledge than you let on, or you thought that because he said, oh, I'm going to flip Pennsylvania, I'm going to win Ohio, I'm going to win all these states, and they actually managed to win these states that had been either like very close or actually blue in the case of like, what was it, Wisconsin?
Yeah.
He handily won Florida and these other places, so it's like, it's hard to say that Trump has no intelligence because, I mean, he was able to pull off those feats.
I mean, he was able to defeat the Hillary Clinton machine with and spend way less money than her in the process. Now, is that because she was just really a terrible candidate? I think part of it is that for her.
Oh, yeah, she's a horrible candidate.
Nobody in the real world wanted Hillary Clinton.
I read something the other day about Trump, and, when it comes to Trump and the media, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But they said that he doesn't like to receive the daily briefings like every other president before him. And when they initially were giving him the briefings, he wouldn't really read them because he doesn't like to read.
No.
So they dumbed them down and added a bunch of pictures and shit. But it was still too hard for him. So now, basically, every 3 days, someone gives him a verbal briefing.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that kind of stuff makes me think, wow,
Little
he's really
Donnie,
dumb.
It's time for your White House briefing.
But at the same time, like, I've seen him engage in strategy. And I think that when it comes to playing a crowd and understanding the psychology of a room, I think that he has an undeniable intelligence there. So I want to put Trump's intelligence, if we're judging from the baseline of an everyday person, I mean, like, what are we saying? The everyday person is a 0, or everyday person is a 10, or I mean, like, what are we?
I would say most people. I would put Trump. I would say, or just the average. The average you'd probably have to put maybe around 10. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think it's going to be
in the middle.
That. You got to be, to be fair, you got to say the average person is
it's like a 10, okay, and then the lower you get under 10. I guess I'd give Trump a 11.
Yeah,
11 or 12 sounds fair to me.
Yeah, that sounds.
What do you guys
fair.
think? 11 or 12?
I'm gonna say 12.
12. I can go 12. I'll be generous and give Trump a 12.
Sure. 12.
I mean, he's going up against George Washington, so
yeah.
All right, so now we got to figure out how fucking smart George Washington was. Now, I know the motherfucker was smart, so...
I mean, he had to be some level of intelligent to be an army general.
So let's just see if we can...
campaigns and shit.
There might even be, like, speculation...
I mean, he won the fucking Revolutionary War. That you got to take that into account. That you can't be a dolt and do that, right?
All right, so here is, at least in the opinion of U.S. News... and World Reporting the intelligence level of the presidents, estimated IQs. So I don't know. Let me see what how they're deriving this.
Yeah, let's see how they.
This is
their methodology.
Before following in the president's footsteps, Adams graduated from Harvard. Blah 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 blah. During his times, Adams. I'm trying to figure out how they actually came to these. Should you consider the intelligence of candidates when voting in 2016? Research comparing IQ to presidential performance points to yes. Compared to the general population, presidents are smart people. The average IQ score in the general population is 100, about 118 for a college graduate. All the U.S. presidents have higher IQs than that. Well, maybe not anymore. But some are geniuses. Anything over 130 is considered to be a genius. From Washington to George W. Bush, 28 presidents met that mark. Only 3% of Americans score above 130. Bill Clinton had the 5th highest IQ. All right, so I don't know how they derived this. So let's take this with a big old grain of salt. But here is the chart. I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen. So here's what we got. According to this, John Quincy Adams was the smartest president, according to them.
I believe it.
Jefferson, Kennedy, Clinton, Wilson, Carter. Let's see. Where is Washington? Where did he fucking fall in this?
132.
So according to this, they fucking think Washington's IQ is 132, which puts him in the top maybe 2 or 3% of the population. That's also, I mean, that puts him at genius level, assuming that this is accurate. I'd like to know a little bit about George Washington's intellectual accomplishments.
Sure.
But you guys can go ahead and speculate on that.
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about what, if anything, that he wrote outside of letters and policy.
Most of what you know about George Washington are more of the accomplishments. You know, okay, he was basically a leading figure during the American Revolution, the first president of the United States. You know,
I found another article about presidential intelligence. Let me just get to the fucking part about Washington. No, he's in here. It's like one of those stupid.
Well, it's hard. It's hard
things.
to make a determination on Washington because so much of it is totally shrouded in like, you know, Americana and just this.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get
the
down.
Strong nostalgia for our country and nationalism, and there's so much that obfuscates the person's intelligence. It's like it's really hard to know if Washington really was a brilliant person or not, especially also because he lived so long ago. You know, in terms of human timescales.
Sure.
But I mean, compared to Trump, I'd have to say I'd have to imagine it was higher.
Just wish I could find something that would just like give me a layout of Washington's intellectual achievements so that I could just be like, okay, well, here's what he actually accomplished.
I mean, he was president of the United States during probably the most like fucking tenuous time in our nation's history at its birth. At war with every major power in the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, that you got to take that into account, right? That's an intellectual accomplishment, among other things.
But a lot of people have argued that I've read that Washington was a poor military strategist. So I have heard that said about him.
Well, I mean, that certainly wasn't how he was perceived. Like, the people loved him. They thought he was a fucking hero.
I mean, I think we're just going to go. I mean, I'm sure that any military commander is going to have their second guessers, but he was generally regarded as a skilled military commander.
Yeah.
He did not have a college degree, but he was considered to be a very sharp political mind in his time. Maybe if we could get a sample of George Washington's writings, maybe we could gauge. I mean, a little bit
Washington kind of predicted the political climate of the U.S. You know, he really did in his you know his farewell speech.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna
definitely some intelligence and foresight.
I'm just gonna click a random fucking Washington document, and we'll take a little look at something he's written here.
And have George Washington himself read it, dude.
What?
Yeah. I patched him in.
Oh, okay.
While we were waiting for you, what do you think I was doing? Sitting around my duff, TJ? I got every fucking president on the line to read their own quotes.
Here, let's read some. Let's see if we can read something from his diaries.
Ooh.
Dear
juicy.
diary.
All right. So this is just an average fucking this is like a little nothing one paragraph entry from Washington's diary here. This is from Friday the 25th, 1748. Nothing remarkable on Thursday, but only being with the Indians all day, so shall slip it. This day left Chrysaps. I don't know what that is. And went, I mean, this is like, it's such old language. It's hard to even fucking know what the fuck I'm reading.
Put it up there, TJ.
TJ's
I'll read
an idiot, dude.
All right, you go ahead.
I know this, dude. I know how George Washington was.
You know his speaking style.
Yeah, of course, dude. Of course. Like I said, I talked to him on the... Never mind.
Talk to him on the phone. All right. Go ahead.
Friday, 25th, 1748. Nothing remarkable on Thursday, but the only being lain with the Indians all day. So, all shall ship it. This day left Chrysaps and went up the mouth of Patterson's Creek there and swum our horses over, got ourselves in a canoe and traveled up the following part of the day to Abram Johnstone's, 15 miles from the mouth, where we camped.
Well, he was at least having an eventful life.
I don't think Trump could oversee that. Like, let's.
No.
So here's like, anecdotal proof that Washington did that. Do you think Trump could lead an expedition like that?
No.
And oversee it and get from one place to another without some horrible tragedy befalling
And
him.
describe the geography and what was going on.
And I'm saying with just
there's
him
no way.
responsible for it. Just him. Nobody else. No lackeys to go do this and go do that and plan this. It's just like, I want to go on this and I'm going to get all... Like, Trump would never do it.
All right, so I mean, it looks like most of these people. I've gone through various fucking websites gauging presidential intelligence.
I mean, you're not gonna find. I mean, let's be honest too. We're not gonna find some shit like George Washington was a fucking retard.
Exactly.
You know, we're not gonna find that.
But it looks like they tend to put him in sort of the middle of the pack. So I'm gonna. I mean,
maybe 15,
middle of the
16.
presidential pack.
Right.
I'm gonna probably say you could probably give Washington a 16 on the
A
intelligence.
16, okay.
All right.
That seems fair.
enough. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think we can go ahead and change this too. Yes. All right. So here we go. This is the breakdown so far.
Not even close at this point.
So yeah, it's pretty lopsided.
36 to was it 20 or what? No, what is it?
Currently, Trump has 20 points.
Oh my God.
Washington has 36 points. Yes.
Wow.
Well, not close so far.
So the next category is eloquence. So we've already kind of gone into this.
Yeah.
We've already looked at the speaking levels of modern presidents. We're not going to get a grade level on Washington because
who knows?
Too long ago.
Right.
But Trump, we already saw. I mean, we know what Trump sounds like. We could probably just fucking talk this out amongst ourselves.
I would say to start that Trump is probably his speaking level is below most people you would actually meet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about most. I mean, if you're just like talking about random people on the street, I don't know.
Maybe. Well, then yeah. If you're gonna use the average person, then Trump is maybe.
I mean, like he's probably around the middle to lower end of average.
Yeah, I would agree to that.
Depending on where you are, and
listening to Trump talk is tiresome though.
I mean, Paul, talking is your wheelhouse. What do you think?
He I don't know, dude. Like, talking may be my wheelhouse, but I don't feel qualified to judge Trump's talking because it's just, I don't know. It's so low level. He spends so much time saying one thing. He's so repetitive.
Can we play like maybe a clip from Trump?
All right, let's take a little look at a Trump clip here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull one up. You guys blather among yourselves for a second.
Blather, blather, lather, lather, blather, blather.
I mean, we just read a diary entry that doesn't sound like anything that Trump would do or say.
Oh no, the Washington entry is.
So I mean, his eloquence, I don't think is even in fucking.
Like, it's going to be higher than Trump. I mean, his vocabulary just far exceeds Trump.
Let's just go ahead and take a quick look at a Trump speech here. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen. I'll just go to the middle of the speech, and let's just have a listen.
A terrible day, a terrible night, but such bravery. Families have adopted babies orphaned by the opioid epidemic.
Adapted?
They have adapted babies?
All right, he's using a teleprompter here.
Yeah, we want something more off the cuff.
Yeah. Jitterview.
Those are not even Trump's words.
Jitterview. All right, so here's Trump talking to CNBC here.
Leaning towards staying in, or would you really go out?
I've always said during the campaign, and as you noticed, and as you've actually said a couple of times, which I've always appreciated, I have fulfilled a lot of what I've said. And I'm only here a year. You know, I think I have 4 years and maybe another 4 years, okay?
we'll
we
see
keep going. We'll see what happens. But Joe, we have a $71 billion a year trade deficit with Mexico. We've got to do something. We can't have that. So will it be renegotiated? We're trying right now with Bob Lighthizer and the whole group. I think we have a good chance, but we'll see what happens.
The way that
He's not bad.
I feel
He's
like
not
that's
bad
pretty,
off the cuff here.
I feel like that's pretty fucking average if I'm just talking to a person. That's around average for a level of eloquence.
Yeah.
I mean, also he kind of suffers from the previous presidents, with the exception of George W. Bush.
He almost seems...
I mean, Obama was a super eloquent president, so Trump, by comparison, seems kind of like a dolt.
I mean, he almost seems like he's more ineloquent when he's reading his fucking teleprompter.
Because he stumbles through it, yeah.
It's like he's better at speaking off the cuff than he is reading.
Trump is kind of ADD, so yeah, I think when he's able just to kind of just go from off the top of his head, he's kind of better because he can just keep his
and you
his
see him bouncing
pace.
around.
But they can't let him speak off the cuff because he says crazy shit.
Yeah, because then he just goes off the fucking wall and says things that he probably shouldn't say that cause headaches for his cabinet.
He goes ape shit and starts throwing feces at everybody. You got to put that teleprompter on him.
So what are we going to rate his fucking...
I
mean, if you said that he's about average, and we said that the average human being, we'd put it at 10, I'd say we put him at a 10. Or at 11. I mean, what do you want to give him one little bump over your average
I'd
Joe?
say he has some, he's had some good quips and shit. I say we give him like 11 or 12.
I'm going to go with 11.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 feels okay.
All right, so we're giving Trump an 11. Now it's time to figure out George Washington, which once again is a little bit harder. Because it's not like we can pull up a Washington speech. Maybe there's a recreation.
Pull up his inauguration speech, and then just compare it to Trump's.
I put in Washington speech, and it's all Denzel Washington.
Yeah, no, wrong.
All right, George Washington speech. This is George Washington's
You're listening to Great
address.
Speeches in History. To see a full listing of the podcasts provided by Learn Out Loud, please visit us at www.learnoutloud.com/podcast.
Learn out loud.
Oh, there
Not
you go.
doing
We
it.
should shout them out. They're providing us,
George Washington's Farewell Address, September 19th, 1796. This speech was delivered by George Washington at the end of to return to that retirement from which I had been reluctantly drawn. The strength of my inclination to do this, previous to the last election, had even led to the preparation of an address to declare it to you. But mature reflection on the then perplexed and critical posture of our affairs
no fucking way. Dude, if Trump could say perplexed and critical posture, there's no way. Devastating, crushing blow.
Oh my God. Okay. Let's listen a little more to gauge where he's at here.
Impelled me to abandon the idea. I rejoiced that the state of your concerns, external as well as internal, and then persuaded
that sentence right there, way too complex.
I mean, look, we already know he blows Trump out of the water. We're just trying to figure out where he fits in this 1 to 20 fucking paradigm. I mean, I'm thinking around 16 or 17 based on this.
That's what it's seeming like.
I would
to me.
say that might even be low.
Let's hear a little bit more.
That in the present circumstances of our country, you will not disapprove my determination to retire. In looking forward to the moment which is intended to terminate the career of my public life, my feelings do not permit me to suspend the deep acknowledgment of that debt of gratitude which I owe to my beloved country for the many honors it has conferred upon me.
Never. Yeah. It's a goddamn
18,
lopsided bet. Yeah,
18 or so.
17, 18. Yeah,
I'm saying 18.
18.
Let's say about 18.
Fair enough.
I mean,
18.
A pretty fucking rousing speech. A very eloquent speech. I mean, it's remembered in history books. Not only for its foresight, but the eloquence of itself. I mean, the vocabulary far exceeds Trump. It far exceeds probably the average person. I mean, especially in that time frame and that time period. So, I mean, you have to give this a high rating.
Yeah. So here's where we're at now.
Just a landslide.
It's not. Trump has not won a single category.
Well, diplomacy skills. Maybe that's where Trump will fucking shine.
Well, I don't know. I mean, fucking, like I said, Washington.
Well, are we going to judge Washington before he was president? Or are we going to judge him as president?
Both, I guess. But we're going to start with Trump. That's how we've been doing.
I know. I was just trying to clarify with that.
We'll figure that out in a minute. We're gonna start by looking at Donald Trump and diplomacy.
So laughable. The man uses Twitter to basically saber rattle with North Korea.
Yeah.
Threatens nuclear war with North Korea and other countries.
Talk shit about other countries and their leaders to their faces and on Twitter.
All right, so here is an article from January 16th. A little less than a month ago. This is from CNN, who's not usually a big fan of Trump, but this seems like a fairly even-handed headline for them. Get out of here. Actually, this, Trump's first year of diplomacy finds friends and foes. Title of this article. So let's see who they think are the friends and who they think are the foes here. President Donald Trump has welcomed dozens of his counterparts to the White House since he entered office a year ago and has visited 13 countries himself, each time deepening ties to the club of world leaders he's now joined. The at times bombastic Trump has also shown a flair for diplomacy, befriending and charming unlikely world leaders as both a host and a guest. As he looks out across the globe 1 year in, the president finds both friends and adversaries, though the distinction is rarely clear-cut. As he enters his second year, here's a look at the state of Trump's global ties. Okay, so first we're going to take a look at his relationship, and I guess I could go ahead and put this on the screen so people can see what we're looking at here.
Yes, what's Trump's relationship with major U.S. allies?
Yes, so let's take a little overview here of what the major allies are. First of all, President Xi Jinping, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, I apologize. Everything Trump wants to do in Asia rests on his relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping. That was clear in April, mere months into Trump's presidency, when the businessman turned president hosted Xi at Mar-a-Lago, his opulent private club in Palm Beach, Florida. Trump has maintained a hot and cold approach to China since launching his presidential campaign. The president slammed the world power during the campaign, but leaned heavily on China and Xi to tighten the world's grip on North Korea. The strategy has had its low points, such as Trump suggesting Xi wasn't doing enough to clamp down on North Korea, or when the Trump administration slammed China's trade practices. But the president also relishes the pomp and circumstance bestowed upon him during his November visit to China. A year into his presidency, what has remained clear is that Trump's fate in Asia is inexorably tied to Xi.
I would say that reading between the lines on this, my read of it is honestly Trump publicly shits on China, but I think he actually is good buddies and loves them.
Yeah, I think that, I remember hearing about their meeting. I mean, like, Trump's rhetoric on China softened a lot after this. So does that make him a good diplomat, though? Because, he
was wooed by a spectacle in a foreign country.
Yeah, they kissed his ass enough.
I don't think Trump even had to be wooed. I think Trump already was big on China. I think he likes China a lot. I think he realizes it's politically unpopular to like China, though, so he makes sure to tell people they're currency manipulators. But this is the same guy who I recall had a meeting with the Chinese president and said after he talked to him for 15 minutes, he no longer believed the Chinese were guilty of currency manipulation.
15 minutes. Cleared it all up.
So even if whether it was true or not, maybe it's not true at this point, maybe it is. But Trump had a 15-minute talk and it's like, oh, it's false, fake news.
Here is with French President Emmanuel Macron. Or Macron, I don't know how to pronounce.
Macaroni.
Macaron. It seems like I don't want to read every single one of these, but there was that intense handshake that they're talking about right here, where they just kind of shook hands for an uncomfortably long time. But it seems like they've had some disagreements here and there.
It looks like they struck it off, though. It says in there that he considers himself Trump's interpreter to Europe.
He's kind of feels like he's the Trump whisperer, maybe.
Yeah, like he takes all this weird infantile gobbledygook that constantly pours out of Trump and kind of weaves it into something that Europe might be able to stand.
So let's talk about Vladimir Putin. This is the controversial one. I actually will go ahead and just read this. No leader looms larger over Trump's presidency than Russian President Vladimir Putin, who U.S. intelligence agencies agree directed an election meddling campaign in 2016 designed to favor Trump. The parallel investigations into the potential role that Trump campaign officials had in Russia's meddling have loomed large over Trump's first year in office. At the same time, however, Trump has steadfastly insisted that U.S.-Russia ties must improve. He's met with Putin on the sidelines of various world summits, each time with their interactions thoroughly scrutinized. After their last encounter in Vietnam, Trump declared he took Putin at his word that the Russian president believes his country didn't interfere in the U.S. election. Meanwhile, congressional leaders have insisted that administration take a harder line on Moscow, requiring new sanctions by the end of this month. So obviously, I mean, Trump has a pretty friendly relationship with Putin, whether you believe the collusion line or not. Trump.
I mean, if you believe it, then you definitely believe that.
Yeah.
He goes out of his way to not talk shit about him.
So, of course, I don't think we even need to get into this. I mean, Trump has specifically attacked this guy.
The little rocket man.
He attacked this guy in his State of the Union address. He's attacked this guy on Twitter. He's
threatened nukes.
Threatened nuclear war with this guy over Twitter. So obviously their relationship is pretty fucking tense.
Kim Jong-un, for those of us
it says
listening.
It describes the Japanese prime minister as Trump's golf buddy.
Shinzo Abe.
So I guess that the two backslapped their way to warm relations that weekend and have since held a number of friendly talks, including multiple phone calls and face-to-face meetings at international summits.
So Shinzo Abe likes Trump.
So there's another guy that likes Trump.
But you could argue he's just positioned himself as a staunch American ally, and Trump's just whoever's the president. So you pretty much he would basically make an accommodation.
But you could say at least that Trump hasn't fucked it up.
Yeah, he hasn't fucked it up.
Here's an interesting one, because this is a very controversial figure, especially among Trump's base. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who is actually, last I checked in her status, she was not doing too well in Germany either. Not able to build a coalition over there. Maybe that's changed. I haven't paid attention for a little while. When Trump took office a year ago, German Chancellor Angela Merkel was widely regarded as the most politically secure leader in Europe, if not the entire West, and as such looked to as a bulwark against Trump's nationalist instincts. She came to the White House in March armed with maps and charts that she hoped could instill in the visual learner president a sense of how important American engagement was in maintaining the international order. But it was an awkward match, highlighted by Trump's seeming refusal to shake her hand. Since then, Merkel has established herself as a voice for the types of international agreements that Trump relishes ripping up. But she was badly weakened in last year's election, leaving some fear that her sway with Trump could wane. It doesn't sound like she had much to begin with.
You know, if you did, there's one little moment in there that stuck out to me. She was going to meet with Trump and talk about, her nation and Europe in general and the EU and how it relates to the United States and other nations. And she brought a map so she could point at it and go like, here's where I'm from. All the way across this big old ocean from where you're at right now. You see this? This is Washington, D.C.
Who is this unattractive woman in my office?
So let's see. South Korean guy. Is it good or bad? Let's just
probably good.
Strategy worked. Trump has lauded the South Korean president for his leadership, and so their relationship's good. Theresa May.
I mean, of course it's going to be good.
Yeah.
He's so big. That's a big theme of his presidency. Is he's very anti-North Korea. I mean, more so than Obama or pretty much any other president. So of course he's going to have strong support for South Korea.
So this chick seems like she kind of wants to like Trump, but he's so unpopular in her country that she can't be seen as too cozy with him.
That's exactly what she's doing. It's like she knows that. I mean, I think she probably agrees more with Trump than she lets on. But also, it's kind of political suicide in the UK to be like, let's be in bed with Trump.
So Theresa May probably wants to be more in bed with Trump, but can't quite get in there.
Well, you know why, too, because everyone's thinking about Tony Blair and George W. Bush.
This fucker is crazy.
Duterte, yeah.
Duterte is a fucking lunatic.
Oh, completely insane.
He kind of is like an even crazier Filipino Trump, honestly. Many foreign policy experts were confused as to why Trump, who was in the Philippines attending the annual meeting of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, was honoring Duterte with a one-on-one meeting. The confusion continued after the meeting. The White House said the two leaders discussed human rights. Well, that was a fucking short discussion. While the Philippine side said the issue never came up. Okay, so it seems like Trump is cozy with this piece of evil shit as well.
He likes him.
I mean, it seems like Trump honestly
has a mixed bag here.
Yeah, I mean, like any president would. It seems like he's not. It seems like diplomacy might really not be one of Trump's big weaknesses, but it
doesn't seem it. I mean, honestly, for all his rhetoric, Trump seems like he's at least halfway decent.
I mean, and it kind of goes back to something I already knew about Trump, which is that his best character trait is that he deals well with people. He's able to deal with crowds well, and a lot of times, even people who hate him, when they go in a meeting with him, they come out being like, I think he really cared about what I had to say, even if he didn't, and he goes right back to doing what he was doing. He has a way of, I guess, making people feel listened to, and making them feel like there's something productive happening, even if there's actually not.
So he's a good facilitator, maybe.
So I gotta say that Trump's, after reading what I just read, I mean, assuming that those breakdowns are accurate, and that's from CNN, a place that's, kind of gunning for Trump.
Oh, definitely an anti-Trump.
Plus, it's kind of, we didn't really think about this, but diplomacy is kind of hard to judge him on yet, too, because he's so early in his presidency.
But, yeah.
And we're judging against, sometimes 2 or, in some cases, 3 fucking terms of diplomacy against 1 year.
I would say you have to give Trump a positive rating on diplomacy. Maybe not like a glowing report, but I mean probably at least a 13 or 14.
Yeah, I'd feel pretty comfortable giving Trump like a 15, honestly, on it.
A 15? I think that's a bit high.
I'd say 14.
I think 13 or 14 sounds a lot better.
It seems like he's forged some very successful relationships
with Duterte.
Yeah, but I mean,
being one of the big,
I'm not judging. I'm not judging the morality of his connections.
I would say it's a mixed bag.
Neither am I. I'm saying, do you think it's in the best interests of the United States to cozy up to a person like Duterte that's committing mass murder in the streets of his own capital?
I have no idea.
And it's a mixed bag with allies. I'd have to say Trump. I'm at a 14 for Trump.
All right. Well, I'll go with 14.
Okay. Going to be in the middle. I think Paul is kind of feeling 13. You were feeling 15.
I'm fine with going in the middle with 14. Yeah.
So
I think it's fair. I mean, it seems like his diplomacy skills are not.
He certainly hasn't ruined every relationship that we have. So you got to, and he's built some positive ones. It looks like with some nations that it seems like we'd want to have positive relationships with.
All right, so let's look. I have an article pulled up here about Washington and the subject of diplomacy.
Okay.
As the first president of the United States, George Washington established precedents in every aspect of his administration. Diplomacy was no exception. Washington believed that negotiation was vastly preferable to any other pursuit, and he followed his ideology and took the leading role in diplomatic relations during his presidency. The major diplomatic issues facing Washington included American Western settlers' conflicts with the Creek Nation, the resolution of problems derived from the Treaty of Paris of 1783 that ended the Revolution, and the war between Great Britain and France. Upon assuming the presidency in 1789, Washington almost immediately began treaty negotiations with the Creek Nation. Settlers in several southeastern states were fighting skirmishes with the Native Americans primarily over American land expansion. Holding this land was, in Washington's estimation, a federal matter, and a treaty was signed with the Creek. Under the document's provisions, the Creek were paid for their land and resettled in federally protected areas. Secretary of War Henry Knox finalized the treaty covering lands in modern-day Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi. Only afterwards did Washington ask for congressional approval.
Whoops.
I mean, I don't think that's a whoops. I think that's just like, I'm Washington, bitch.
Do you think that Trump would be the chief diplomat?
No.
No.
Really?
Not to mention, I mean, obviously Washington was getting away with. I mean, look, it's pretty clear that Washington was essentially, maybe he wasn't, maybe he didn't treat it this way, but he essentially was a dictator at that point because he could do whatever he wanted. He didn't even ask congressional approval to make a treaty. It was just something he's supposed to do. It's like, well, I just didn't do it. And no one gave a shit.
Washington moved cautiously to seem neutral because he knew the United States remained militarily vulnerable. Mm-hmm. In actuality, for many reasons, Washington leaned towards Great Britain. To this end, he worked with Alexander Hamilton to develop the Jay Treaty to normalize trade relations with Britain, resolve financial issues, and settle Western land claims. I mean, Washington had to be a better diplomat than Trump could be because he was dealing with issues of the formation of a new country. And he took the leading role, and obviously the country is still here today.
Well, I mean,
so he must have done a pretty good
he
job.
He couldn't be belligerent. He didn't have a giant military. I mean, like, he didn't want to fight another war with Britain. He didn't want to go against any of these other big nations or Spain or whoever that was the power at the time. He was clearly... He knew he had to walk that tightrope.
The treaty that he signed apparently did have some negative consequences, but I mean, mostly positive.
I think you could make an argument that from what we've read there that Trump has taken maybe not the chief diplomatic role, but certainly a leading one. I mean, a lot of these positive relationships that we talked about that he's forged with nations happened, you know what I mean? Like, because of a personal meeting and a handshake and a conversation.
It sounds to me like Washington really made diplomacy his focus. Trump, I think it's one of his focuses. I don't think it's his sole focus the way it was with Washington. And once again, I just feel like the problems that Washington had to deal with were a lot more insane. I mean, like, Trump's basically been given keys to a car that's already been chugging along for 200 years.
He's inherited a relatively stable system.
Kind of forged all of these things with his first administration. I mean, there was no precedence at that point.
What I gathered from that is that Washington set the tone for this is how diplomacy is going to happen in the United States.
Like I said, Trump's at a disadvantage because if he's basically following a standard set by the person he's going against, it's kind of hard to argue he did a better job.
I mean, Washington kind of is the gold standard of fucking presidents. This is kind of why it's hard for Trump to even be close to winning this.
It's not going to happen.
Now, I'm no expert in Washington's diplomacy. Obviously, I just read the same thing that you guys heard. But, I mean, based on what I heard there, I'm going to say you got to give Washington at least a fucking 18.
He managed to navigate those tricky waters in a way that was left a nation behind after his presidency.
I mean, he had to negotiate trade relations with a country that he just seceded from. He had
That's
to deal.
difficult because talk about bad blood.
He had to deal with a former ally fighting a former enemy,
a native population,
both of which had troubles with him. He had to deal with native people who, didn't want white men encroaching on their lands.
You're talking about, people haven't really decided at that point if states should basically just be their final authority or should there basically be federalism. You're talking the huge formation of a country, all these different factions, all these different people. You're having to navigate that political landscape. You're having to navigate basically a conflict, trying to end a conflict and resume trade relations with an important country, which is Great Britain. I mean, at that time, still was a vast empire.
And still having unanimous support 4 years later.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really think you can really compare the two. I mean, look, Trump maybe has made some good decisions, but the achievements of Washington just far outstrip him.
When you put it that way, I feel like I got to give him at least a 19. I mean,
yeah, you have to give him almost a perfect
18,
score.
19. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I'm going to go with 19 because I don't see how much better.
He invented American diplomacy.
Yeah, so it's got to be a 19.
So it's like you got to give him at least a 19, right?
He's got to have that 95%.
Now, obviously, the fucking final category is campaign. Washington really didn't do a campaign. I mean, he was a war hero and he won unanimously like no one ever has. I mean,
people just wanted him.
That's a 20. I mean, we can't.
Yeah, I mean, kind of reluctant. Didn't even almost like I don't know if I want to do this.
His experience, his service during the war, just his name was enough to get people to give him 2 terms, and they wanted him for a third.
Yeah, they were sad that he didn't want to be president.
They
anymore.
were fine with Washington being king. Let's just put it that way.
They wanted him to be king of the fucking country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that point,
I haven't heard any calls for King Trump.
No.
God Emperor.
Not serious ones.
Okay, so let's look at Trump's campaign. Now we all remember the Trump campaign. I mean, it was
we
hotly watched. We covered it.
We covered it every fucking pretty much every day.
It was dirty. It was low. It was devoid of actual policy. It actually was contrary to discussions that were important for people to know about. People were led down these fucking rabbit holes that meant nothing, while huge glaring issues in the country just continued to compound and nobody was talking about it.
But Trump, he really captured the American imagination. So I mean, in that sense, he ran a great campaign. Everyone was talking about him, whether it was positive, whether it was good or bad. Trump really got into people's fucking heads. I mean,
can't underestimate the fact that he was able to swing so many solid blue
I mean, he ran honestly, maybe Hillary was the weak sauce opponent, but Trump also ran a great campaign because he fucking won states that he said he was going to win. I mean, he basically
the impact,
he called the shot, Paul. He said, "I'm going to fucking do it," and then it happened.
Right? No, I understand that.
So you have to. I mean, as much as I don't like Trump, I mean, you have to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to take that, but I'm just saying you have to look at the impact of that campaign too. Like whether it was he won, yes, so it was a good campaign in that respect. But was it good for America or the American people? Was it good in that way? Because I think that Washington being anointed the president was a good thing. I think it was a unifying thing at a time where, it was like a baby, like a fucking fetus of a country. And he was the only one looking over the incubator and feeding everybody and watering everybody. You know what I mean? Like, that's how people looked at him. Nobody's looking at Trump like that. Nobody. Well, I guess the Donald, maybe.
Well, a lot of people, what Trump really ran on was a restoration of American greatness. Was like, look, things have kind of fallen to shit. I'm going to be the one to put everything back together. So, in a sense, Trump is running the campaign of let's make things better than they almost like let's go back to the past, but even better than the past.
He lowered the discourse in this country with this campaign. Future campaigns will be dirtier and less substantive because of his existence. You have to take that into account.
And he did open the floodgates to, basically the rise of just the celebrity president, the celebrity congressman.
Yeah, I mean, at least Reagan went through governorship first.
At least he governed like popular. For most of his presidency until he went out of his mind. At least he made an attempt to govern like a statesman. You know what I mean?
Also talking about a landslide, Reagan actually didn't win a landslide, which Trump, claimed to have won a landslide.
Trump didn't even win. I mean, Trump did not win the popular vote. Now, that's not what matters in our country. It's the Electoral College.
Right.
But Trump was not able to get the majority of Americans to vote for him. He was able to swing some states that people thought were solid blue, and he did it by appealing to the working class in those areas by basically saying, hey, look, NAFTA how's NAFTA working for you?
Trump basically ran a campaign for the swing states, and that's why he won.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he campaigned aggressively, too. He was everywhere. He was in his own private jet.
Hillary was a weak campaigner. She didn't really draw the crowds. Trump was drawing.
She neglected a lot of these areas and just assumed, oh, yeah, we got that sewed up. Like Michigan.
Yep.
She just didn't go to Detroit because she was like, oh, yeah, all those poor people up there, they're going to vote for the Democrat.
So, I mean, a lot of it is how much of Trump's success do you want to say is his own initiative, and how much do you want to say is Hillary Clinton sucking so bad?
I think Trump had some brilliant campaign advisors that really focused his campaign and realized the power of the meme that he was and channeled that energy. I think Trump on his own, I think it would have been a disaster. I mean, look at his opening speech. It was so contentious and so bad, and everybody was laughing at him.
Oh God, Trump!
Clearly, at some point, Trump maybe you got to give him points for finding these people. But
you absolutely do. That's part of managing a campaign.
Right, but he found some people that really came in and said, "Okay, let's focus this down. Let's find the root of this."
Trump's strategy was brilliant in so many respects. One, I mean, even if it wasn't his or not, I mean, he was the fucking puppet. That's you see the strings being pulled to. So, I mean, he eliminated the entire Republican field by one. He stood out from the field, but then he also attacked the field as, oh well, these people are the swamp. And then, as you've seen in his political career thus far, he's just been more of the swamp.
I mean, the swamp was just one of his angles. I mean, he attacked their dick sizes and shit. Their faces and their nose and their the way they dressed and the way their
That's
height.
What I'm saying. So he shredded them easily. They were just like nothing. It was like that was like him versus a child.
The best for me. That was the best era of Trump, was watching him rise through that field in the primaries.
It was cool. I'll admit, it was satisfying watching him shit on all these fucking horrible career politicians. It was cathartic in that way.
Oh, it was beautiful.
But I can't separate how it lowered the fucking bar for the American presidency.
It did.
So how are you feeling about this score?
I think that we have to give him props for winning the campaign. He did run a winning campaign. He was able to fucking squeak a win out in a very contentious race. So you got to give him points for that. But I think the way he ran the campaign and the effect that we can posit that that's going to have on future campaigns, I think pretty easily, you got to take some points away, right? So I'd say put him at an 11 or a 12.
Scotty, what are you feeling?
I mean, compared to the other campaigns that I've lived through, and that being the basis, I would have to say that I would give Trump maybe a 12 or 13, just based on the totality of everything. Yeah, I mean, 20 being, like you said, anointed, and, with 0 being, how the fuck did this person even win?
See, what I'm thinking is, he ran a strong campaign, but it was easy to run a strong campaign because he was up against a very weak candidate. He couldn't manage to win the popular vote. He didn't even really come close. But he did draw large crowds. There were a lot of people excited and hyped to see him.
That's true.
You got to give him that. I would say I'd probably put him at about... I don't think he would have won against most contenders.
A strong Democratic challenger or even a strong Republican challenger that could have parried some of the stupid-ass schoolyard bully tactics would have won against him.
But yeah, he definitely ran a dirty, shitty campaign in a lot of ways that really rubs me the wrong way and really divided America and didn't bring people together in any sort of real way.
So the opposite of George, Washington's campaign.
Yeah, so I'm going to say I probably would be comfortable putting Trump at about an 11 because there was good and bad aspects around it.
I feel like, 11, like I said, 11 or 12, I'd be happy with anything.
And Scotty, you say 12 or 13?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Were we going 12 because that's the one?
I would say 12.
I think 12, maybe that's being a little generous, but we kind of have to, right?
I think that there were a lot of things about his campaign that were very interesting.
Yeah.
This show's already gone long enough that we don't even need to get into this accomplishments thing, which was not an official category anyway.
So let's add up our grand total for each.
Let's go ahead and add up these scores.
Well, I think we already know who won, but for the sake of completeness.
Trump did not win a single category.
With Washington, we almost have to fucking just, 4, 2, 1.
All right, so Washington here. And the highest score is 100.
Yeah, like I said, so that's 4 off, that's 2 off, so that's 6, so it's 7, so 93.
93 is Washington's final score?
Yeah.
Okay.
93 out of 100. Seems about right for Washington.
Washington, 93 of 100.
Donald
Trumpster.
J. Trump.
Let me get rid of this stupid errant 6 here. All right, so Trump.
20, 31, 45. 57.
57.
57.
So, shockingly, in the biggest upset in history, Washington turned out, at least by our estimation, to be a pretty significantly better president.
I just can't believe
Donald Trump.
I have suspected this might happen. Like we would get a 1 or we'd get a 16 or we get some big president. I just didn't think it was going to be Washington.
Dude, I was thinking that at best Trump would have to face off against maybe Jefferson or something.
Calvin Coolidge or some shit.
I never thought okay, out of a random draw we're gonna pick the first or second most iconic fucking president.
Yeah.
It's
a tough one.
I never would have fucking thought that would be the one.
But it was an ass whooping.
I was kind of looking forward to learning about some obscure president I never heard of.
But you know what? I learned some shit about fucking Washington tonight.
I did too.
I didn't know he was such a fucking
that's what you get
forward force of diplomacy.
Yeah. That's what you get with the fucking just totally random generated show, though. we didn't know who it was going to be, so we wanted it to be like this.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's only so many people you're going to draw, and you're bound to draw, just by probability, someone like Washington.
Well, we got Washington out of the way. We could do these a bunch of times,
I liked the format. I think it was fun. I wish that maybe we would have picked someone that there could have been a little bit more suspense for, because the second it was Washington, we're like, okay, well, this is going to be a rout. But
it was interesting to see how bad of a rout it was.
I was curious what Washington's final score would be. I figured it would be in probably the 90s. Got a 93.
Safe bet.
Trump in the fucking 50s. That's an F. You know?
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's
Trump,
not a fucking
dude,
passing
Trump,
grade even.
The best you can give Trump so far, I really would say, is a D-.
I mean, 57 is an F, so
Yeah.
that's a fucking F right
Well,
there.
I mean, I would say in some grading systems that'd actually be like a D-.
All right. Well, in my grading system, it's a fucking F.
Well, okay, under the TJ system, it's an F. That's
and I
fine.
think
Fair
most
enough.
schools consider that an F. Anyway, so here's the final score. Popularity, Trump 8, Washington 20. Intelligence, Trump 12, Washington 16. I think we might have shortchanged Washington on that, honestly.
On intelligence?
Yeah.
I think we
Well,
were trying to be fair.
We're trying
were.
to fucking have some sort of semblance of fairness. here.
Eloquence, we gave Trump an 11, which was probably a bit generous, honestly. Washington 18, diplomacy skills, Trump 14, probably his best category. Diplomacy skills for Washington 19. We probably could have given him a 20 and no one would have complained. Their campaigns, we gave Trump a 12. Washington really didn't go on a traditional presidential campaign because the whole system hadn't really been devised
And also,
yet.
he just didn't need it.
But
he just
was-
didn't need it.
I mean, the people literally wanted to anoint him as a fucking king, so whatever.
You don't need it at that point.
Washington got a score of 93 out of 100. Trump got a score of 57 out of 100. Hopefully all those numbers are accurate. If not, I'm sure the people in the comments will let us know. Thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you thought. Kind of an experimental episode. We're trying to branch out, do as many new and interesting things as we can with this early incarnation of this show.
Yeah, we're just gonna
Give
keep
people an idea of the flavor of the show
We're just
going
gonna keep.
forward.
You're just gonna keep doing different shit.
Yeah, keep doing
You're
more
not
and
gonna
more
know what-
crazy new things.
Expect the
Yeah,
unexpected.
you're gonna tune in and not gonna know what the fuck is going on,
And you shouldn't. Knowing what's going on is over fucking.
unless you're in one of our heads. Which I mean, then well, I guess maybe then you do know what's going on.
Unless
I mean, if
you're
you were in
giving
my
me
head, you would have been fucked tonight. I had no idea what was going
Paul
on.
would be like porn game, food, porn game, food,
Yeah.
food, eat. TJ's an idiot.
Paul was just like, man, we're doing this fucking show or what, damn it? Come on, let's do it.
Because you're a
Oh,
fucking
don't even
piece of
start
shit.
when
you
Yeah,
do it.
TJ, don't even go there, TJ.
you don't even want
do
to
it.
start, dude.
Me and Paul have so much ammunition in that front.
No, you don't. A whole bunch of
Whatever,
faggots.
dude. Good night.
All you guys need to know is they're faggots.